For more than 3 decades, the public has only heard one version of the story, a narrative shaped by the press, edited by the palace, and accepted almost unquestioningly as part of history itself. A royal marriage that ended in silence, a woman who stepped away from the spotlight utterly alone, and a monarchy that always knew how to drape silk over the cracks, even when those cracks ran through its very heart. But then letters emerged, not as part of an inquiry, not leaked to the press, but from someone no one expected. Written by Prince Philip himself, the father of King Charles, these words carried no rage, no accusations. Just the quiet voice of a father, a man who had spent a lifetime following the rules, now daring to question what those rules had cost. In each letter there is a pause, uneasy, unforgettable. Questions that were never asked, fragments of truth never allowed into the light, and a quiet ache without a name. These letters may not rewrite history, but they do ask us to look again at everything we thought we knew. Because sometimes the truth isn't found in what was said, but in what was kept hidden. On July 29, 1981, the world held its breath. Millions of eyes were glued to St. Paul's Cathedral, where Prince Charles, heir to the British throne, took the hand of Diana Spencer, a young woman whose radiant smile shone like the sun. Diana's dazzling 25-foot wedding dress flowed down the aisle, like a river of silk, each fold shimmering in the light, as if carrying the dreams of an entire kingdom. The cathedral bells echoed through London's streets, the ceremony was broadcast live across the globe, and the public swooned, calling it a modern fairy tale. But behind the glittering spectacle, a chilling truth lurked, poised to tear apart the monarchy's perfect facade. Charles, at 32, was no longer the carefree prince of his youth. The weight of the royal family pressed down on him like a massive stone. He had to marry, produce an heir, and uphold the untouchable image of a centuries-old monarchy. But Charles's heart had long been claimed by Camilla Parker Bowles, the woman he'd loved passionately since the 1970s. Camilla, with her sharp confidence and unassuming charm, was everything Charles desired: a true companion who understood his pressures, a woman who made him feel alive. But to the royal family, Camilla was unthinkable. A divorced woman lacking the pristine lineage demanded by the monarchy's rigid standards, she was cast aside from Charles's future, leaving him with a broken heart and an inescapable duty. Then came Diana, a bright star in the palace's gloomy sky. At just 20, she was the embodiment of the perfection the royals sought, a descendant of the prestigious Spencer family, young, innocent, and pliable enough to be molded by the royal machine. With her sparkling blue eyes and a heart full of dreams, Diana gazed at Charles with the adoration of a young woman in love. She believed she was stepping into a true love story, that her devotion could conquer any obstacle and melt the heart of the man she called her husband. But she didn't know that to Charles she was merely a chosen piece in a royal puzzle, a perfect bride, but not the woman he truly loved. Shortly after their engagement, a mysterious envelope arrived at Diana's London residence. No sender's name, no address, just a small slip of paper inside bearing a trembling, handwritten note. "Someone else walked into his heart before you, and she will never leave." The words struck Diana like a dagger to the chest. She stood frozen in her room, clutching the paper, her heart pounding as if it might burst. A chill ran down her spine, and an uneasy premonition surged within her like a tidal wave. It's just a cruel prank, she told herself, trying to banish the fear gripping her heart. But her eyes couldn't tear away from those cold, cutting words. Who sent this letter? Who was this woman, and why did they want her to know this just before she entered a marriage the world envied? Diana had no answers, but a seed of doubt had been planted in her soul, ready to sprout in the dark days ahead. As she walked into St. Paul's Cathedral, resplendent in her wedding gown, and beaming with hope, Diana didn't know she was stepping into a labyrinth built on deception, betrayal, and secrets the monarchy would do anything to hide. The wedding of the century wasn't the start of a love story. It was the opening act of a tragedy that would shake the world. Secret letters, whispers in the shadows, and hidden schemes lay in wait, ready to pull Diana into a battle she wasn't prepared to fight. Within months of the wedding, Diana Spencer became a global icon. The public adored her, dubbing her the people's princess, with boundless admiration. Every appearance brought a fresh breeze, shattering the royal family's stiff formality. Her warm smile melted millions of hearts, her sincere eyes made strangers feel understood, and her rare compassion touched society's forgotten corners. She embraced AIDS patients when the world shunned them, knelt to speak with children on the streets with a mother's tenderness, and convinced people that the monarchy still had a heart beating for humanity. But behind that radiant glow, Diana was dying inside her own home. Buckingham Palace, with its endless marble corridors and cold walls adorned with ancient portraits, wasn't the warm haven Diana had dreamed of. It was a gilded prison where she was forced to obey suffocating royal protocols. Every step was watched, every word weighed, every smile perfected to fit the image of a flawless princess. She had to be the monarchy's symbol, an ideal wife, a model for the public to admire. But her heart was bleeding, torn apart day by Charles's indifference. Charles was no longer the man who held her hand on their wedding day, his eyes seemingly full of love. He grew distant, often absent at night, with vague excuses. Busy with work, late meetings, or worse, just a cold silence. Diana began noticing subtle but sharp cracks in their marriage. One morning, while organizing Charles's clothes, she found a vivid red lipstick stain on his shirt collar, a shade she never wore. Her heart raced, but she tried to stay calm, telling herself it might be a misunderstanding. Then another time, she overheard Charles whispering on the phone, his voice tender and warm in a way he'd never been with her. "I'll see you soon," he said quickly, hanging up when Diana entered his eyes, avoiding hers like a guilty man's. Suspicion turned to pain when Diana saw Camilla Parker Bowles at a private party not on the royal schedule. Camilla, with her enigmatic smile and confident gaze, seemed to know all of Charles's secrets. She stood there chatting with Charles intimately, as if Diana didn't exist. In that moment, Diana felt erased, a ghost in her own marriage. The princess smile she'd practiced in the mirror grew heavy, but she held it knowing every eye in the room was watching. In her suffocating loneliness, Diana turned to her diary as a refuge. Late at night, when the palace was silent, she sat alone in her dark room, the flickering candlelight illuminating words that held her unspoken pain. "He no longer looks into my eyes. I feel like an ornament, not a wife. I'm fading away and no one notices." That pain drove Diana into a battle with her own body. She developed bulimia, a disorder that saw her binge and purge, as if it was the only way to reclaim some control in a world crushing her spirit. Night after night, she cried in the dark, hugging herself to ward off the cold, not just from the stone walls, but from the heart of the husband she once loved. Yet deep within her, a spark began to glow, a fire of defiance, of a woman determined not to be destroyed by what she couldn't change. Unknown to Diana in those darkest days, an unexpected ally was quietly watching and empathizing Prince Philip, Charles's father. His letters, written in a firm but troubled hand, would soon reach her, opening a door to the shocking truth about her marriage. It was also a door to a path with no escape, where every step could be her last. In Prince Charles's heart, Camilla Parker Bowles was a shadow that never faded. Though married to Andrew Parker Bowles and living a seemingly separate life, Camilla remained Charles's refuge whenever the royal world grew too stifling. Secret meetings, late-night phone calls, and stolen glances at private gatherings became an inseparable part of Charles's life. But for Diana, Camilla's presence wasn't just a thorn in her heart, it was a knife cutting deep into her fragile hopes for a happy marriage. Diana had suspected for years, but she clung to the belief that Charles would change, that her love could bring him back. But one fateful afternoon in Charles's study shattered her illusions. While searching for a document, Diana found a crumpled, half-torn, handwritten note buried under papers. With trembling hands, she picked it up and read. Camilla's scrawled words hit like a curse. "Thank you for that night. Your scent is still on my blouse." Diana's world collapsed. She stood there, the note falling to the floor, her breath caught in her chest. Each word, each stroke of ink was a hammer blow to her heart. Which night was this? When Charles claimed he was tied up with work, leaving her alone in the cold palace, was he with Camilla? That night, Diana confronted Charles, her voice shaking but resolute. "You owe me an explanation, Charles." "What is this?" She held up the note, but Charles responded with silence and a cold stare, as if she wasn't worth his concern. In that moment, Diana realized she wasn't just fighting Camilla. She was up against an invisible system shielding Charles, a network of power, privilege, and buried secrets. The pain of betrayal simmered in Diana's heart, but it erupted in 1992 with the Tampon Gate scandal. A leaked internal recording, allegedly from a mysterious source, spread through the press before the royals could suppress it. In the tape, Charles and Camilla spoke with sickening intimacy. Charles even said he wanted to be Camilla's tampon, a crass expression of his desire to be close to her. When Diana heard the tape, she felt humiliated before the world. She sat alone in her room, hands clutching her head, tears falling uselessly onto the marble floor. But in that pain, a steely resolve rose. She would no longer be confined by silence. In 1995, Diana took a daring step no royal had ever attempted. She sat for a historic BBC interview. Facing the camera with eyes both resolute and laden with sorrow, she spoke words that shook the monarchy. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. Those words were a bombshell echoing from London to every corner of the globe. The public was stunned, the press exploded with sensational headlines, and the royal family was thrust into an unprecedented storm. For the first time, Diana felt her voice was heard. Millions worldwide rallied behind her, praising the courage of a woman who dared expose the truth. But Diana knew she'd declared war on a force far stronger than her, a monarchy that didn't forgive those who broke its wall of silence. In her heart, joy mingled with fear. She'd opened the door to the truth, but could she survive stepping through it? Amid the media storm engulfing the British monarchy, where every headline was a sharp blade slicing into the royal family's perfect image, a sudden ray of light pierced Diana's hopeless darkness. It wasn't public support or comfort from close friends, but the firm, heartfelt words of a man she least expected, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, Charles's father. Known for his steely demeanor, conservatism, and unwavering loyalty to Queen Elizabeth II, Philip became an unlikely ally, a rare voice in the palace, acknowledging Diana's pain. At over 70, Philip had spent his life in the monarchy's shadow. He knew better than anyone the feeling of being caged by unyielding rules, forced to sacrifice himself to protect the royal image. As an outsider, a Greek prince who renounced his titles and homeland to join the British machine, Philip saw in Diana a kindred spirit, a young woman deeply wounded by the system he'd served. In her blue eyes, he saw innocence crumbling into pain and defiance. And in his heart, a rare pang of sorrow stirred not just for Diana, but for his son Charles's mistakes. One gray, rainy London morning in early 1993, Diana received a plain envelope unadorned with royal insignia, bearing only Philip's firm handwriting. She opened it with trembling hands, unsure what to expect. Inside, the words were like a warm breeze in a freezing winter. "The boy is a fool to risk his honor and future for a married woman. You don't deserve to endure this." The letter was a faint spark of hope in Diana's dark night. She sank into a chair, reading each line again and again, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time, someone in the royal family, Charles's own father, acknowledged she wasn't at fault, that her pain was real, that Charles had betrayed not just her, but the monarchy's honor. Philip didn't hide his disappointment in his son. He called Charles's actions foolish, a word he rarely used, and in it Diana sensed a deep sadness, the sorrow of a father watching his son stray, but powerless to fix it. But Philip wasn't entirely on Diana's side. In later letters, he revealed a clear inner conflict. He blamed Diana for letting emotions guide her, for sharing her story with the media, an act he saw as dangerous and unforgivable in the royal world. In one letter he wrote, "You have a warrior's heart, but you must learn to fight in silence. The monarchy doesn't forgive those who break its rules." These words were both advice and a warning. Philip admired Diana's unyielding spirit, but feared for her. He knew the monarchy, with all its power and ruthlessness, wouldn't tolerate someone exposing its truths. In his heart, Diana was a free soul, but that freedom was pushing her down a perilous path. He wrote these letters not just to comfort her, but to pull her back, to shield her from consequences he sensed were coming. Philip didn't stop at writing to Diana. He sent separate, sharper letters to Charles, almost like reprimands. He urged his son to change, demanding Charles respect Diana and his royal duties. "You're destroying not just your marriage, but our family's legacy," he wrote. But Charles, consumed by his love for Camilla and the arrogance of a future king, didn't listen. Each of Philip's letters seemed to vanish into a void, like stones dropped into a bottomless abyss. In the long nights at Sandringham Palace, Philip often sat alone in his study, the desk lamp casting light on his lined face. He tore up drafts and wrote again, each word a battle between reason and emotion. He felt guilty for Diana, not just for Charles's actions, but because he, with all his experience and influence, couldn't change anything. "I've lived too long in this cage," he wrote in a letter never sent, "and I don't want to see a soul like yours crushed by it." But he knew no matter how many letters he wrote or how hard he tried, he couldn't save Diana from the path she'd chosen, the path of truth, whether it led to light or darkness. Meanwhile, another figure acted quietly, sensing a greater tragedy. Gibbons, Philip's trusted aide, recognized the letter's importance. With a heavy heart, he secretly copied some and locked them in an iron box hidden where only he knew. To Gibbons, those words weren't just private exchanges between two people trapped in the monarchy. They were evidence of a buried truth, a warning of a storm that could destroy everything. He told no one of his actions, but he believed that one day these letters would speak, even if Diana and Philip were no longer there to tell their story. Diana, for now, continued her dangerous journey. She cherished Philip's letters, keeping them like precious gems in a world of deceit. But she couldn't follow his advice. Fighting in silence wasn't her way. She wanted the world to know the truth, no matter the cost. Every word she spoke, every truth she revealed, tightened the invisible forces circling her. Philip's letters, though a rare light in her life, couldn't protect her from the cruel fate awaiting her. In Philip's heart, a silent regret grew. He knew no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't alter the tragedy's end. Diana Spencer was no ordinary princess. While other royals hid behind Buckingham Palace's silent walls, Diana stepped into the spotlight, wielding a weapon no one dared use: the truth. She didn't just share her story of betrayal's pain, Charles's coldness, and the monarchy's stifling pressure. She turned it into a blaze that burned through the royal family's perfect veneer. Each TV appearance made her more than a glamorous princess in elegant gowns. She was a woman with a broken heart, standing up for herself and those crushed by power. Every word Diana spoke was a sharp blade. In interviews, she described her loneliness, sleepless nights, and how she was reduced to a decorative object while Charles was consumed by Camilla. The public, from London's small streets to remote global villages, listened and felt her pain. They saw in Diana a real woman, not a polished palace icon. She spoke of her eating disorder, her desperate attempts to regain control in a world crushing her. For the first time, the world saw the monarchy not through a glamorous lens, but through the tear-filled eyes of an insider. Charles couldn't bear it. In a rare loss of control, he sat in his study, eyes fixed on the TV, as Diana shared her story in the bombshell BBC interview. When she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," Charles slammed his fist on the desk, shattering a priceless ceramic vase passed down through generations. Shards scattered across the floor, but no one in the room dared speak. "She's destroying everything," he shouted, his voice trembling with anger and fear. But deep down, Charles knew Diana wasn't just ruining his image. She was exposing the truth he and the monarchy had tried to bury. Prince Philip, despite his stoic exterior, couldn't stay untouched by the storm. He disapproved of Diana's public disclosures, believing they pushed the family into an irreparable crisis. Yet in one letter to her, he revealed a rare hesitation. "If you don't speak, who will? If you stay silent, the powerful will rewrite the truth their way." Philip's words were both an acknowledgement and a warning. He understood Diana had no other choice, but he feared the consequences of her courage. Then a shocking event rocked the monarchy. A copy of one of Philip's letters leaked to the press. No one knew how those private words, in which Philip criticized Charles's foolishness and defended Diana, reached journalists. Sensational headlines screamed across papers. "Prince Philip turns on Prince Charles' palace." Secrets exposed. The letter's contents were a fire that burned through the monarchy's last defenses, leaving Charles feeling betrayed by his own family. The leak sent Charles into a panic. For the first time, he felt the weight of the truth Diana had unleashed. In a rage, he summoned his closest advisors, ordering them to deal with Diana not through dialogue, but by controlling the narrative, smearing her image, or whatever it took to protect the monarchy. But Charles didn't realize that each move only deepened the media abyss, pulling him and the royal family into a spiral with no escape. In 1996, after years of turmoil, Charles and Diana's divorce was announced. Diana emerged from the marriage like a bird freed from a cage, But her freedom came at a steep price. She was no longer the Princess of Wales, no longer shielded by royal status, and most crucially, she didn't feel safe. In the final months of their marriage, Diana noticed alarming signs: strange cars parked near her home, phone calls abruptly cut off, and a constant sense of being watched wherever she went. A close source revealed that Diana confided to a friend, "I don't know who they are, but I feel someone's watching me. I sense danger closing in." Just before leaving England to start anew, Diana received one final letter from Prince Philip. The envelope was carefully sealed, his handwriting shakier than usual. In it, he wrote, "I fear there are those who don't want you to live to tell this story. Be wary of those protecting you." The letter was a chilling prophecy. Diana read it in silence, her heart heavy. She didn't respond, and Philip, after this letter, ceased contact. Perhaps he knew nothing could change fate, or he feared his words would only put Diana in greater peril. Despite her fear, Diana didn't stop. She continued her charity work, traveling the world to advocate for the voiceless. She visited hospitals, embraced orphan children, and led campaigns against landmines, becoming a symbol of compassion and courage. The public loved her more than ever, but that spotlight also made her a target. The shadowy figures Philip had warned of seemed to tighten their grip around her. On the night of August 31st, 1997, the world was stunned by news Diana died in a car crash in Paris. Her Mercedes, speeding through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, slammed into a concrete pillar. Paparazzi were blamed for chasing her, but murky details, the car losing control, the driver allegedly drunk, reports of another mysterious vehicle sparked questions. Diana's death was ruled an accident, but millions worldwide refused to believe it was that simple. Philip's final letter's warnings echoed in their minds. Was this truly an accident, or a plot to silence the woman who dared defy the monarchy? Diana's death wasn't just the loss of an icon, it was the start of a lingering question: how far would the truth go when those in power chose to hide it? Philip's letters, Diana's words, and the secrets yet to be uncovered still waited, ready to erupt on a day no one could predict.